Hello, and welcome to Let's Not Play. Now, first, I'm going to address a few concerns some of my friends had. They said, one, that I wasn't exciting enough, and two, that I had bad posture. So, I don't know if that's bad posture, but this is very exciting. So, okay. These are for a kid's head, so they might fall off. So, today we're going to not play Bioshock Infinite, and there are a few really good reasons I didn't buy and won't play Bioshock Infinite. First of all, it's $60, which is way too much for a PC game. I understand, how it is. Oh, well, that's what they get for the console games. Why not charge it for the PC games? Well, I mean, this is just not how it works. PC games are $50. The new Tomb Raider game is $50. Why is that $50? Why is this 60? It's just a tax because they think they could get away with it because Bioshock is a more popular franchise than Tomb Raider with PC gamers at least. So that's the main reason is $60. I know it's only a $10 difference, but it's really annoying. On top of that, it has some DLC package. Now, if I pre-ordered, I would have got the free season pass or whatever, but I didn't want to pre-order because I didn't want to buy the game anyway. So the added value when you're not going to buy a game anyway, it's not really added value. It's added nothing because I'm not going to buy it. If they gave me a $60 rebate for buying the game, I might have bought it. Even then, I don't know if I could have afforded the $60 out of my account. So it would have had to be like a $60 instant rebate. They would have had to give it to me free, and then I probably wouldn't have played it. And the main thing that I notice is people complaining about how violent the game is, or I didn't notice anyone saying, "Oh, this is great, the game's violent," but people complaining about the game being violent. And that annoys me because games aren't that violent anymore, are they? The last really violent game was Soldier of Fortune. And Soldier of Fortune, you could blow off somebody's arm, or like you shoot them in the gut and their guts would spill. It was great. It was really gory. And now in games and in movies, there are a lot of bullets. There's a lot of violence, the act of violence, but you never see the results of violence. I think this actually is a bad thing for kids because they see a lot of bullets fly and see a lot of people get shot, but they never see what bullets do to people. It's pretty fucking horrific, you know? Um, and that's one thing that annoys me is people are talking about how this game's violent. I remember I saw some Kotaku idiot post an article about how he couldn't show it to his baby sister or something. Like, okay, moron, you can't show a lot of things to your baby sister. And he's a baby too because he has an infantile brain. So, and he showed this GIF of it, and the GIF, it's like, oh, you grab a saw and you put, and the jelly comes out of the guy. And he's like a big jelly donut. And it's like, well, when you eat a jelly donut, is it violent? It's just filled with red stuff. And that's how gaming is now. It's a bunch of jelly donuts full of red stuff. And you shoot them, but bullet holes don't appear. They just shoot out some jelly at you. And you slice them with a sword, but do they get cut? No, some jelly comes out. And that's it. That's all the violence now is in video games. So it annoys me that the game is violent in that way. It's violent in a very PG-13 way where it's like, hey, look, this is a violent game. We're going to show you what violence means. But still, like some pixelated game that actually had a little gore, that actually properly displays human anatomy and gives you a realistic feeling of shooting someone or stabbing them with a knife or sawing them with a saw blade or, putting their head in a vise and like twisting it until their head breaks open. Those games, even if they're worse graphically, are more realistic to me. Because shooting a guy and jelly coming out is not what happens if someone gets shot or blown up or anything. It's actually pretty horrific. I think it's better if when you do a horrific thing in the game, if you get a horrific result, because it gives you a little more sense of reality than like, oh, bombs just cause people's bodies to ragdoll and their HP decreases. And the third reason, apparently, and I went to Tumblr to learn this, apparently the game's very racist. It's more racist than the Ku Klux Klan, and I mean, who knows more about race than those people on Tumblr? They're just great. You know, a bunch of white college students with trust funds who pretend to be black people. Who would know more about race? I mean, that's very progressive. Pretending you're black, that's like, it's amazing. So those people told me the game was racist. And I guess you're there and like they don't like black people and you're not a black person. I mean, that would be a little too interesting, right? We slow down. You're still white. It's fine. Don't worry. So you're a white guy and you're there and like, oh, like you're at a racist carnival and you could throw something at the guy, or you could start killing everyone. And some other idiot on Tumblr, not to go too off topic, had a problem that someone was disappointed that you could murder everyone as a response to racism. It's like, that's obviously, I'm from Tumblr, I obviously know that killing people with chainsaws is the way to solve racism. But I digress. So that's another reason, and obviously I don't think the game's racist, but I really don't need Ken Levine babbling about race to me. Like, I didn't need him babbling about whatever Bioshock 1 was about, which I really didn't care, because I don't give a shit about the message, honestly, very often. It was a nice game, it was enjoyable, but it was a little heavy-handed, and the endings were lame. Even if you killed one little sister, you got the same ending. And that was pretty unfortunate. So I really don't care what Ken Levine has to tell me about race. Like, if I really cared about race issues, I'd go donate my time or my money. I don't do that because I probably don't care. I mean, maybe I care a little bit, but you know, I care just as little as anyone else in America. I mean, whatever. I guess I'm a piece of shit. That's fine. So, you know, that's the other reason is I don't need the game being luxury. And Bioshock 1 was fun. You know, it was a fun FPS. It had good aspects to it. But it's one of those things where it gets over-reviewed. I feel like it's a little overrated because it didn't have a fun ending. The whole end thing was horrible. A lot of the bosses were not very good. It just suffered. It just suffered. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't even like that great. It just had some really good set pieces that were good at like tricking the game, or that really appealed to emotion and came off as very artistic. Whether they were or not, I really don't know or care. But it you know, it wasn't like another Half-Life, and obviously that was true because when you had Bioshock 2, which didn't have as much you know, like emotional blackmail, didn't aim for the heart and gut as much. You know, it just wasn't as good of a game, and it wasn't as popular. I really don't want to see a game where it's like their main lesson is that they learned is like, well, you have to trick the player by having them follow around a pretty girl and fall in love with her. That's the only way to make a good game is emotional terrorism. That's what it is emotional terrorism. And that's why you shouldn't play Bioshock Infinite unless it like gets really, really cheap. And then just maybe, but then you won't get all the DLC. And I'm sure the DLC has the hot coffee mod in it and all those kind of things where you get to bang the girl who kind of looks like she might be like a really mature 16-year-old. And that's why you're being sold the game. I mean, that's the thing. It's a little insulting because it's like, well, here's a game where you get a girlfriend, idiot. And I guess they did the same thing in the one Prince of Persia, but I don't know. It seems a little overt, and the whole thing about, you know, the violence and the racism, it just annoys me because, well, it's not violent enough, and it probably really doesn't even hammer home a very good message about racism anyway. So it's kind of like stupid, really. And it's $60. Fuck that, man. Fuck that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Don't subscribe don't rate. I'd really rather people don't comment on these videos at all. I just really like to be left alone, and that'll probably lead to me making more videos, so do that. Thanks. Bye.